And then the guys that were dominating, there was a guy named Donovan McCurdy. He raced for Boss and CW. That guy was incredibly fast. I remember being on the gate with him, and by the time we got to the first turn, he had me by 5 bike lengths. And I'm like, oh, wow, what is this guy made of? I mean, I felt like I was at my peak, and I just couldn't keep up with him. That's when I think I reclassified down to like intermediate. At that time, I go, I can't do it. These guys are too fast. Yeah, and then I took a break. I raced until, oh man, I raced all the way until about 93. And then I hung it up for the longest time, sold all my stuff, which was the worst thing I could have ever done. I sold stuff dirt cheap, and around 98, I thought to myself, I want to race. I want to try it again. And so I went to the track and I went and watched a few times, and I go, well, there's not a lot of 28-year-olds racing, but there's a lot of 28-year-olds on cruisers. So I went and got a Specialized Fatboy cruiser. And I went, yeah, you saw that. Yeah. So I took that and I go, okay, I'm going to race cruisers. And I had never raced cruisers before, and it was an adjustment for me because the bike felt really big and I couldn't like throw it around like I could on a 20. But eventually I adjusted and I did pretty good locally on the cruisers. There was a Sonoma BMX was still running in California. And then we had a Livermore BMX was running. So I had at least 2 different places I could race. So I was hitting both of these tracks, and there was even a track out here in Stockton. I wasn't living here at the time, but there was at the fairgrounds, they had a track. So you had some options in 98 to go race, and I stuck on cruisers for about 2 years. And then I took another break. I go, okay, I'm done racing for a while, and I put it away. And then I didn't come back again until 2012. I started racing. And you know why I did it? I'll tell you exactly why I did it. It was like, I got divorced and I was depressed. I had nothing to do. I'm just sitting around. When my kids weren't home, I felt like useless. I got to find something to occupy my mind because I'm going crazy here. And I go, you know what? I had a GT, one of those box series bikes. I built that for fun. I had no intention to race it. And I go, I'm going to race this damn thing. And I took it to the track and I sucked the first few times, and then it started coming back to me, and I never stopped. And other than to the point last year when my mother passed away, I took a break, but I fully intend to go back and do that. And I raced that GT for a while. It was a nice bike too.
I love the Specialized Fatboys, dude. I've had probably, no lie, like 10 of them. I have one right now that's sitting in my den. And I love them, dude. But they get no respect. No respect for the Fat Boys. Even worse are like the 90, like the 2001s, 2002s. But the Fat Boy, the cruiser that you had, it's funny because the regular Fat Boys, you get them a dime a dozen, you get them for $100 on eBay all day long, or at least you used to. But the cruisers are like they want like $1,000 for a cruiser. I'm like, dude, why is it so expensive now? But I don't know do you know if the cruisers were that much more rare than the 20s or something? Or I have no idea why there's so much more.
Honestly, when I bought it, who was racing? Who was their factory pro? Do you remember? It was the French guy. I forgot his name. Oh gosh, I talk about him all the time. I've seen him race a bunch of times.
Levique?
Not
Christophe?
Yeah, Christian Best. No, what was it again?
Oh, I thought it was Levesque or Levique or something. No,
Levesque. Yeah, so Levesque was the man, right, in the 90s, and so he had a big contract with Specialized, and they were pumping out a lot of bikes. There was tons of them, and so when I went to the bike shop, there was a lot of options. I'm like, well, I'll take the cruiser, right, and I don't know what's driving the popularity of it now because they seem like they were all over the place at the time. But now you just never see them, that monocoque type frame. They've disappeared. I don't know where they're at.
Did yours creak?
What's that one more time?
Did your frame creak all the time? Mine did. Mine do.
It creaked and it had this like weird hollow sound to it. You know, when you're
Ding,
riding.
ding, ding.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I thought to myself, I go, I don't know if I like this or not, but I raced it for 2 years. You know, I never had any issues with it, and but I switched back to it's more of a traditional frame later. You know, right behind me is like that's my GHP, so that's my normal race bike right here. And then of course I've always ride the Skyway. That seems to be the first bike I grabbed.
Okay, so
And this,
is that the second? Is that the second iteration GHP? That
yeah, this is the last one. If you, I don't know if you can see it, but this
yeah.
is the, yeah, I got a really super deal on that one. I think it was Greg Hill was decided he was done with BMX for the final time, and he posted it up. I think it was on, man, I want to say it was on Facebook, and he said, "Listen, $150 shipped for the frames." And I was laying in bed when I saw that. It was in the middle of the night. I go, "These are going to be gone in 5 minutes," and so I ordered it immediately.
If if I ever talk to Greg Hill,
Uh-huh.
I was on I was on that. I saw that post when he went out of business the second time,
Mhm.
and I felt so dirty watching that because these guys, not maybe not you. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about you,
Right.
but they were telling Greg on that Facebook post how great he was, how they loved his company, how they loved his bikes, but yet no one would actually buy one or pay full price for one. And
Mhm.
I always had an issue like, dude, that's so fucked up that where you tell this guy how much you love his bikes, but I'm not gonna buy it unless you give it to me at half price.
Right. Yeah, and he was basically giving them away at the time. I'm like, I have to have it. And that's one of the best frames I've ever had. You know, so I still race it today. So I'm thinking about building other things, but I'm going to keep this only because
Yeah.
I'm a big Greg Hill fan in general. I have to say he's probably my favorite racer of all time. So yeah, I'm going to definitely keep that.